Alright, what we're going to do today is we're going to build a Magic8ball. The way that it works is you ask a question, click the ball, and it gives you an answer selected from an array of answers that we're going to write. We're going to build this using JavaScript canvas and arrays that we'll create inside the JavaScript. First thing we're going to do is open up a new file, and we're going to do the same way we start every other HTML document is by defining the doc type. It's in HTML. Let's go ahead and open up the HTML, and we'll open up the head. And we'll open up the body, close the body, close the HTML. Save this as, we'll go ahead and call it Magic8.html. You gotta remember the .html extension. Alright, let's just start it out with the title, even though the title is not gonna actually appear in our window here, because we're using Cloud9 again. So the body, the first thing that we're gonna do is create a canvas, because we're gonna all of this animation here and interaction and drawing is actually occurring on this canvas that we've created using the HTML5 canvas element. So the first thing that we're going to do is open up that that canvas. So we'll go canvas, we'll go ahead and give it an ID of my canvas, and let's set the width to 500, and we'll also set the height to 500. Now the text that goes in here is what would appear if somebody has an older browser that does not support the canvas element. So we're going to just type, your browser does not support canvas element. And that'll only appear if somebody has an older browser that does not support the canvas element. So right now, if we were to preview that, we don't see anything. So what we want to do is we're going to go ahead and add some internal styling in here. So if you wanted to do an external style sheet, you would do your link and then your .css file. But we're only gonna style the canvas, so we're just gonna do it within the document. So we're gonna use the canvas ID, because we don't have a class in here, we just have an ID. So because we're using an ID, we're using the hashtag or the number sign rather than the period. So our ID is my canvas, and we're just gonna go ahead and give this a border, and we'll do a 1 pixel thickness, solid, and we'll make it black. So we save that and then refresh, we can see right away. Now let's say I wanted to make it, I could do it dashed. It shows up dashed, but I think I like solid. Okay. The next thing that we're going to do is start using, let's make that smaller, start drawing and getting into using the canvas. The way that we do that is through JavaScript. Again, you could do an external one, but we're just going to go ahead and do all of this in this one document here. Now, in order to draw on the canvas, we need to define our canvas and bring it into our JavaScript. So the way that we're going to do that is we'll come up with a canvas variable. We're just going to go ahead and call it C for canvas. Again, you could call it C, you could call it can, you could call it cat, you could call it whatever you want. We're just going to call it C for now. And we want to go into the document and grab this element here by its ID. So we're going to do document, so that means go into the HTML document, and get element by ID, which is the first one there. And what's our ID name is my canvas. Okay, the next thing that we're going to want to do is set up this thing called get context. So this is going to tell us how are we drawing it, what's the context of the drawing. So to do this, we're going to do c.get context, and we're going to be doing a 2D drawing. So there we go. Alright, now the next thing that we're going to set up is, let's just go ahead and draw our circle first before we do anything else. So the way that we're going to do that is do CTX, because that's what we're using to draw now, dot begin path. So that means just go ahead and this is where we're going to start drawing. We're going to do a circle, because our 8-ball is circular, so like not a rectangle or a triangle or a line. We're going to go ahead and draw a circle. So it's ctx.arc. If we were doing a rectangle, we might do like fill rect or something like that, but we're going to go ahead and do ctx.arc. So the values that go in here: the x position, the y position, the radius, start angle, and end angle. So that'll be our x position. We'll go ahead and start with 200. Let's do a y position of 200. Let's do a radius of 50 pixels. Our start angle is going to be 0, and our end angle is going to be 2 times math.pi. Alright, and oops. The next thing we're going to do is, let's see, so now we want to choose a color. So let's go ctx.fill fill style. And we're going to set that equal to, let's pick a color, ACC77F. I have no idea what color this is going to be, but we'll see when we draw it, which we'll do in a moment, using ctx.fill. So now we save that and refresh it. There we go. We have our beautiful circle that we just made. Again, you can change the color if you want. I don't know. Yeah, I don't like that one. Okay, so undo that. Yeah, so whatever you want to. You can change the color around. You could do RGB. You could do just want black. You make it black if that's the color of the 8-ball that you want. Whatever. Okay, and let's go ahead and fiddle around with the size and position here. So the way that a circle is built is, let's change our radius, make that 100, and make the circle a little bit bigger. The radius, as you know, is from any end of the circle to the middle, is the radius. And so right now it's 100 pixels. So from here to here is 100, from here to here is 100. The x position and the y position are actually the center coordinates of the circle. So right now our x position is 100, so the center of the circle is 100 pixels from the side and 200 pixels from the top. So if we were to say, whoops, go back to that. If we were to say 0, set our x position to 0, we lose half the circle because, again, this is our x position is the center of the circle, and the circle is drawn around that. So let's go ahead and make that 150, and we'll go ahead and make both of those. Oops, 150. Let's refresh, bring that there. Alright, so now we have our circle. The next thing we want to do is create this square here in the middle where we're going to have our answers. So in order to do that, we're going to change first the fill style because it's always going to use the last one. So if I didn't define another fill style, it's just going to be green, which means we're not going to be able to see it because we're actually going to place our rectangle on top of our green circle. So ctx.fill style, and this time, let's go ahead and use an RGB. So that's red, green, blue. So we'll go 220 for red, 20 for green, and go 190 for blue. Oops. And now we're going to do that ctx.fill rect. And let's see, let's go ahead and we'll use the same coordinates right now that we have for the circle. So 150, 150 for our x and our y. And then we have our width and our height, which you can see here. You have the x position, y position, width, and height. So let's go ahead and do our width. Alright, so we have a width of 40, and we'll do a height of, let's go 30. Okay, the thing is here is that the rectangle is actually drawn slightly differently than the circle, where the circle is drawn from the inside out. The rectangle is actually drawn from this top corner here. So this corner here is going to be our 150 by 150. So again, it's measured always from the edge of the screen. So that's 150 from right and 150 down. So what we want to do is center the center of the rectangle on the center of the circle. So to do that, we're going to use a little bit of math, and we know that our center is half of the width and half of the height. So half of our width would be 20. So let's subtract 20 from our x position. So we have 20 before the center and 20 after. So that'd be 40, and then half of 30 is 15. So we want 35. 150 minus 15 is 35, and let's refresh that, and that actually centers our rectangle. But let's make it a little bit bigger. Let's try 60, and we'll go 40. So now minus 30 is 120, and half of 40 is 20, so that'd be 30. And there we go. It looks a little bit better, I think. Okay, so now that we have our rectangle and our circle, we want to provide the answers for it to write, and the function that will ultimately write our answers. So let's start with providing it a list of answers. So we're going to do an array. Okay, so we're going to do an array. We're going to call our, we're going to go ahead and call this variable, just call it answers. We're going to set that equal to a new array. And so let's start defining answers. And the first one, let's do yes. And do another one, we'll call this one again, these can be whatever you want. Oops. And let's go ahead and do one more. Okay. So now we have our selection of answers to choose from. But now we need a way to select the answers and to then print them on here. So we want this to be triggered, this selection and printing to be triggered by when somebody clicks on the 8-ball. The easiest way to do this is to set an event listener to the entire canvas. So the way that we're going to do that is we're going to do myCanvas.add event listener. So that's saying we're going to take this variable here called myCanvas, which, as we know, is this. We're going to add an event listener to it, something that'll wait until something happens. And that something could be clicking, it could be typing a key. As long as something happens, this event will be triggered, and it'll check to see if it's the correct event, and if it is, it'll start the function that we declare. So what kind of event do we want? We want a click event. What we want it to do once it hears this click event is we want it to run our function called choose answer. Okay. Now, when you click, let's save it. Now when you click, it'll run this event. We don't have a definition yet, so we're going to do that now. So we're going to do function, and what's the name of our function? Choose answer. Let's go ahead and open up that function. Oops. Scroll down a bit so we can see. And the first thing that we're going to want to do in here is we want to, let's see, first thing let's do is write down an answer. So let's do ctx we're going to start writing some text here. So ctx.font, and let's try 10 pixels, and we'll use Arial. Next thing, we're going to make sure that this is centered. So text align, set that equal to center, so that'll hopefully center our words in the rectangle. And we're going to let's do a fill style. Oops. ctx dot fill style, and set that to the white. Okay, and then ctx dot fill text. So we're gonna do our text, our x coordinate, and our y coordinate. So what text do we want? We want to choose one of these answers. So we could just say, let's just test it for now. Oops. So we'll do test, and we'll put that at, where's our rectangle? So we'll put that at 120, we want the center of our circle, which is 150 and 150. So now, when we restart this, if we click, we should have our test up here. But we don't want test to appear, we actually want one of our answers. So what we'll do is we'll do answers, and let's go ahead and select one of them for now. Let's do never. Whoops. So we'll go ahead and do that. We'll put the 1 because 1 is never. Refresh, and never shows up. But we wanted to choose one of these at random. So the way that we do this is we set up a variable to store a random number, and then we're going to do the Math.random function. So let's call this our magic number, variable magic number. We're going to set that equal to math. We want it to be an integer because Math.random is not an integer. It's a decimal between 0 and 1. So we're going to make it an integer. We're going to do math.floor. Oops. And then within that, we'll do the Math.random. And we want that to be as long as our array. So we have, you could do this times 4 because we have 4 answers in our answer array. Or if let's say we want to add more answers later and we don't want to change this, we're just going to do answers.length. And go ahead and do that. And then we can change this from 1 to magic number. So that way it's going to select the random number between 0 and however long our answers array is. In this case, our answers array is 4. And then it's going to choose the answer with whatever that number is. So let's say it picks 2. So then this would end up being answers 2. So if we refresh that, we get a different one, but as you can see, it's every time you run the function, it writes over what was previously there without erasing anything. So we're going to go ahead and have it erase some stuff first. So again, ctx dot, this time it's clear rect, and as you can see, we have to put in the x coordinate, the y coordinate, and the width and the height. So if we were going to clear our entire canvas, we would do, let's see, our x coordinate is 0, 0, and what's 500 by 500? Let's refresh. But then everything disappears and then it writes our thing. But we don't want that. All we wanted to do is erase our rectangle. So I'm going to do 120 and 130 and 60 and 40 because these are the dimensions of our rectangle, and that's what we wanted to clear. But it just completely deletes that, which we don't want. So what we're going to do is, right after we clear it, we're going to redraw our rectangle. So just go ahead and cut and paste and do that. And now, every time you run it, it clears everything and then rewrites it again. And that is the gist of creating a Magic8ball. You can use any of the stuff that we just learned to put the instructions at the top. All you have to do is create, probably outside of the function, another one of these CTX fonts and fill styles and fill text up here, just and position it at the very top of your canvas and write, click the canvas or click the Magic8ball to answer your question or something like that. And again, if you want, you can play with the colors a little bit. Let's say we want, every time we click it, we wanted to change the color of the rectangle. So what we might do is another random number. So let's call this one red value will equal another math.for, because we want an integer, and then that, math.random, and we want this to be between, I don't know, let's say between 10 and the max for RGBs are 225. So let's set that at 200, and then I don't want to start at 0, I'm going to just go ahead and start at 20. So this will give us a random number between 20 and 220. So now I'm going to replace this with red value. So that actually won't work because this is a string because it's in the quotes. So what we want to do is break the quotes for a second, and we're going to add that value there. So this is now read as a number rather than a string. So if we refresh, it'll change our color every time. And you could do that again if you want to do it maybe for the blue value as well. Let's do that, and we'll change this to blue value. We'll leave the same parameters, and we'll change our blue to close quote plus blue value plus quote, and save that. And now it, more variety of random numbers. And so that's the gist of Math.random, arrays, and using the canvas.